buenas noches tengan todos ustedes. Mi nombre es Esther Maluto, trabajo para el Distrito 25. Si alguno de ustedes necesita traducción en español, por favor vengan a sentarse aquí y voy a hacer lo mejor posible para traducirles lo que diga el doctor Mike esta noche. Una vez más, para cualquier que estén aquí que necesiten traducción en español, aquí los espero. Gracias.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Wei Yichong, the district social worker. I'll be offering Chinese interpretation tonight. 大家好，如果你是需要国语或者广东话翻译的话，我们在那边有一个小组在那边，所以请你到我们这边，如果你是需要翻译的话，谢谢。
Okay, thank you, ladies. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me on what is now the second school visit for my listening and learning tour this fall. Really appreciate you guys being here. I know it's a long day. I know that you were just part of another session here from 185. And big thanks to Mike Liang, interim acting principal from 185 for organizing this tonight. So the listening to learn tour event is really an opportunity for me to share with you our district-wide priorities, the things that we really value as a district, the things that I value as the interim acting superintendent. You're going to get to know a little bit about my family. I'm going to share just one slide just so you get to know that I also have children. One of them a middle schooler, who I'll talk to you about in just a moment, and I have a high schooler also that are going through a similar type of phase of learning as your children at 185. And the last part of tonight is really going to be about getting some feedback from you as parents, and certainly from you as kids. In three spaces. One, what are some of the things that we're doing really well in District 25 right now from your perspective? What are some things that you believe that we can do even better? And then lastly, look at someone does not know that I'm on a listening and learning tour event because they're calling me on Teams. Hold on one second, let me mute them. Well, this is almost a staple. This happened in the first one too. And lastly, advice that you have for me in this role, so that we are supporting you as families and you as kids the best way that we possibly can. So that's really the context of this evening. So it's going to be about 25 minutes of me just sharing with you our priorities and a little bit about me. I'm going to share a little bit about our team members. And then the last part of it's going to be really about getting feedback from you as community members. And then any questions that you might have that I can answer. So without further ado, just our quick little welcome back. Welcome back to school, everyone. Hoping that the first couple of weeks of the school year have been productive and smooth. The feedback that I have received thus far is that we've had a really, really great start. I myself was able to go to 12 schools over the first 2 days just to make sure that our buildings were in a good space. And then all of our buildings were visited multiple times by our team members during the first couple of days of the school year. So just a couple of images for you guys to see. We did have opportunities to draw on some of those photos. One of my favorite places to stop is always the pre-K, because those little ones, you have nothing but to put on a big smile on your face when you see those 3- and 4-year-olds in school. And one of my particularly favorite moments was a little young man by the name of Owen, who kind of trailed me the entire length of the classroom just to follow me around and to show me what he was super proud of as a little 3-year-old in the classroom already. So we're really very happy with the way that we've started this school year. So just a little bit about me. My wife Jennifer on the left, my daughter Emily in the middle, and Matthew on the right-hand side. Emily is in 9th grade. She just finished up 8th grade this past year, so I got to experience that graduation, which I have to tell you I was not really ready for personally. Seeing an 8th grader move on to high school was something that was a little bit tougher than I anticipated. Is this sense that she is growing up is really a tough one. And then Matthew, my 7th grader, who right now is a young man who I'm constantly in that space of making sure that I have those constant reminders, as I'm sure you guys as parents, the importance of making sure that work gets done every single day. So Matthew, if you're watching, you know that I'm talking about you right now to make sure that homework is is all completed and we're doing that reading. I've been in the public school system. This is now my 26th year in the New York City public school system. I've assumed a number of roles from teacher, assistant principal. At the time, they had something that was called networks. So I was a network leader, was responsible for schools across Brooklyn, Queens, and Staten Island. And then I've been the deputy superintendent for 9 years here in District 25. This now being an opportunity to serve as the interim acting superintendent today. So some of my core beliefs, I'm not going to read all of these to you, but I just want to kind of talk about some that are really, really important to me. I believe that in order for us to grow as a collective organization, every single one of us needs to learn and take on a learning stance. And that includes me. There shouldn't be anyone of the mindset that we've stopped learning. If we've come to a space where we stop learning, then that means we're not going to be effectively able to support our kids in the best way possible. So even when we believe we've done an amazing job, tomorrow we can try to do an even better one than we did the day before. And that's kind of the mindset that I want everyone to assume, is that yes, we may be doing really well, and yes, things might be going really well. But what can we do differently to make sure that our kids have an amazing experience in our classrooms? And that's something that I really stand by, is that in order for us to learn as a collective group, we have to be willing to learn individually first. So one of the spaces of my feedback that I give to building leaders, to teachers, to anyone that is within my earshot, is that we have a responsibility to continue to learn within our craft, to make sure that our kids are in the best place possible as learners. So that's something that I truly believe in. I also really believe in the importance of high expectations. When our expectations are high, our kids will strive as much as they possibly can to reach them. If our expectations are low, then that's exactly the direction that our children will strive to meet. They will reach the expectations that we set for them. If we do not do that for our kids, and we don't stand tall and say that I believe that you can, then we are not going to set our kids up for success. So that is something that's really, truly important for me. And everything in between, I just kind of talked about the first bullet and the last bullet. Everything in between is how we use information to really engage in conversations at the school level to improve outcomes for our kids. So I do want to share, this is the mission from New York City. Chancellor Banks issued a mission statement that I do want to just make sure that I share with you. It's at New York City Public Schools, that our mission at the New York City Public Schools is to ensure that each student graduates on a pathway to a rewarding career and long-term economic security, equipped to be a positive force for change. When I first saw this, along with superintendents across New York City, we started landing on a number of words inside of the statement that were really important for us as superintendents. And I would imagine as you're looking at it too, there are spaces that we can really kind of land on. This idea of ensure, it's this accountability that we have to make sure that our kids are ready for college and career. This space around equipped, that our kids have all of the tools necessary to be successful inside of their classrooms. So inside of this very short statement, it comes with a lot of meaning, at least for me, in alignment with what we believe as a district. So as a district, we have a vision around strong roots, strong schools. This space that we are responsible for building strong foundations for our learners in math, in reading, in science, in social studies, and so on. Our goal is that our kids are ready to go by the time they leave us in middle school and ready for high school and beyond. So this message around strong roots, strong schools is one that's been with us for the last, I want to say, 5 years when we first originally developed it, and it's had many iterations since. And for you as families and educators and kids that are in here, this is not something that is resistant to change. So if there are things that we are missing inside of our vision, inside of the things that we believe as a collective community, one of the things that I do ask is that if you have ideas around things that are not being said inside of this statement, what are they? What do you believe we should also include inside of our beliefs for the kids that we serve here in District 25? So you don't have to necessarily shout anything out now, but I do encourage you to look at this, because we will be revisiting this as the year goes on at the district leadership team level, at the Community Education Council level, as well as at any of these parent meetings. I offer you opportunities and invite you to share some of that feedback with me about this vision statement for District 25. The mission, I'm not going to go into tremendous depth, but it's really about making sure that our kids are given authentic experiences for learning inside of their classrooms, that we're really building on that social emotional learning space for our kids, so that we're not only building them academically, but also building that space of the emotional strength that's necessary for them to be successful. So much of what is in here I've already kind of talked through. We want to build critical thinkers, we want to build problem solvers, we want to support creativity inside of our classrooms. So I did want to introduce our team. We do have a team of over 20 staff members in District 25. Each of them assume a variety of roles that are really important, and important for you to know as families in the event that there are things that you might need. All of this is on our D25 website. If you ever need support or ideas around things connected to instruction, things connected to special education, things connected to our English language learners, you'll find all of them here. I'm going to give them a very, very brief introduction now so that you know who it is that is representing District 25. So me, I just kind of introduced. Beverly Mitchell is our student services manager. She really is there to support anything facilities-wise. So if there's anything going on in our building that needs repair, if there's anything associated with social emotional learning, she is the executive point person for this work in our district. So for families and for our schools, she is a point of contact. Louis Latito, who is present here in the second row, does all things digital in District 25. Is one of the main reasons why our site and all of this access to Wi-Fi and streaming is accessible to all of our families, and is the point person for making sure that any need in our district kind of goes through Mr. Lotito, and then he directs all of our schools to the appropriate place. So really super important role here, and I encourage you as needed to connect with Mr. Lotito if necessary. So we have a pretty big instructional team. Our instructional leads focus on literacy and mathematics, are our primary leads inside of our district. Anna Arrigo is really supporting the implementation of the HMH curriculum, which I will talk about in a few moments. Melinda Willens is doing that very same thing, but for our middle schools. So our middle schoolers will see Ms. Willens from time to time in their schools, really supporting instruction in our classrooms. Beth Eaton is our math lead, supporting children from grades 5 through 8, and our schools from grades 5 through 8, particularly as we focus on building our kids as problem solvers in math. So Ms. Eaton's going to be working with our teachers to really build instructional practice in our schools. Michelle Lee is everything English language learners. She really supports our children that have second language needs inside of our classrooms, as well as providing professional support for our teachers and our building leaders. So Michelle does an amazing job with our schools, and will continue to do so as the school year goes on. We have 2 AIS coordinators that focus on kindergarten through 2nd grade. So if you guys have little ones in here as well, our AIS coordinators are responsible for supporting the implementation of 2 important programs. We have Foundations, which is a phonics program, and we have Hegarty, which is a phonemic awareness program that's being used across every school in District 25. These 2 ladies are our point people for that. Diana Stein, many of you, I'm hoping, have heard of Mind Up. It is a curriculum that is for social emotional learning kids. Mind Up, yes. We've heard of Mind Up. Brain Breaks, yes. I'm hoping, yeah, I'll do a nice little round of applause. I love it. So Mind Up is being implemented across District 25, including here at 185. Diana Stein is the point person to make sure this is executed across our schools. We do have 2 new members to the team that just began this year, Amanda Centaur and Blair Brager. They are also point people for the rollout of the HMH curriculum, both in elementary school and in middle school. They are primarily focused on K-5 though. as this duo. Debbie Winkler is our teacher development coach. She is there to really support instruction across our schools. She is also a point for our English language learners. So she works side by side with Michelle Lee to make sure that our teachers have what they need. Tracy Vaughn is everything data in District 25. So anything that we are connecting with, making sure that our kids have the right programs and services, that is what Tracy Vaughn's role is. We have a special education coordinator, as well as an L coordinator, a compliance specialist, that are really responsible for making sure that our kids are served. I'm proud to say that we are amongst the top in New York City in making sure that our Ls and our special education children receive the services that they are due within their IEPs. These two gentlemen are responsible for making sure that that happens. Greg Yankovich is our student services manager. Greg is responsible for all things social emotional learning. He supports our counselors to make sure that they have what they need to support their schools. Wing is present. Wing is here offering translation. She is our district social worker. For any of our community members that might need access to a variety of organizations or supports, Wing is an awesome resource for this entire community. And we'll be offering workshops as the year is going on to support mental health and social emotional learning needs of adults, not just our kids. For all of us that are parents, know that we can use some of that at times also. It's not just our children that can use some of that coaching, and that's what Wing will be doing for us this year. Austin is our attendance coordinator. This I can't impress upon us enough. Attendance, the relationship between attendance and student performance is very clear. If our kids are not in school, they cannot possibly keep up with the demands of what's going on in our classrooms. Now, I'm not saying by any stretch if your child is sick that they should be in school. If they're sick, we should be taking care of them, certainly at home. But for all other accounts, our kids need to be in school. There's a 25% difference between when kids are chronically absent, meaning 18 days or more absent, and when they are not 18 days or more absent. So it's very, very clear what the data says, and it's important that our kids are in our buildings. Janet is my administrative assistant. She does all things scheduling-wise for me. Marissa Martin, who is also here, is our community coordinator. So she'll be connecting with events for District 25 throughout the year. And we do have two that are upcoming. In August, we did a New York City Reads event. We had 1,000 people come to this event where we were able to give books away to our community. We're going to be doing two more of these events in October. Flyers will be coming home to you guys from the district. One of them will be at Casino Park. The other one, we're just waiting for confirmation on Bound Park, where we will be doing a little bit of a book giveaway as well, a little bit of a spin-off in a spooktacular type of scenario where we get to give books away to our community. So just something for you guys to be on the lookout for. And then we have two family support folks. We have Esther Maluto, who is right in the front, providing our translation. She is there for any of our community members that have any questions or concerns. Go right to calling our district office, and you will either get Esther or Jenny from our team as well, are both here to support any of your questions or concerns as families. So, listening and learning tour. We're doing this event 6 times across a variety of different schools in District 25. These were done strategically because each of these leaders is either brand new this year or they are in their second year. So I felt like it would be important for them to also receive this kind of an opportunity to have their parents come out, also be able to connect with them in a little bit of a different way than a typical event, but also then to be able to connect with me and share a little bit of your feedback. So we are having this event at PS 20, 129, 164, 184. We're here this evening, and then 214 was our first event that we conducted. The link that is actually on this page brings you to the event page for our district. You'll see all of the listings. If you are not available in person and you want to come to another one, these are live streamed events, so you can see them at home if you so choose. I don't know if I want to hear myself on the other side of it, but you guys can certainly hear me on the other side of the microphone. So 90-day plan, this is actually complete. It's just going through editing. This will be posted on our district site so you can see what it is that I am anticipating to get complete over the first 90 days of my experience in this role as interim acting superintendent. Much of what we're going to be doing is surrounded by these four things. Multi-tiered systems of support, making sure that our kids receive what's necessary for them to be successful. Aligned professional learning. So when I talk to you about the priorities, I'll share with you a little bit more about what that means. Shared and inclusive curriculum, and then partnering with the community. Those four elements are really going to help support promoting excellence, equity and diversity, wellness and safety, and engagement and empowerment inside of those buckets. So, just going to kind of hustle past this and go right to the priority spaces. So, District 25 has 5 priorities. Each of these priorities is aligned with expectations from Chancellor Banks. The first priority is that all children learn to read well. Here in District 25, that means that our focus is, one of our priorities is to focus on early childhood reading for children in grades K through 2, primarily through the implementation of HMH, Heggerty, and Foundations. Those 3 programs are going to be at the root of what our focus of change is to support improved outcomes for our kids as little ones. Our second goal and priority is around all students learn to be physically and emotionally safe. Our focus here is really about the implementation of Mind Up and how that implementation of Mind Up is going to help support the reduction of infractions across District 25. Where we typically wind up seeing infractions is during lunch, during recess, kids getting involved in types of behaviors that are often, you took my ball, that's my ball, that kind of thing, where it results in those types of interactions with kids, which then becomes an incident inside of our recess time. So our goal with Mind Up is that our kids start learning how to manage those behaviors in a different way and make really responsible decisions instead of getting into those types of conflicts, that they learn to think, breathe beforehand, and avoid some of those conflicts from happening. So that is one of our goals as a district this school year. All students have a high quality academic experience. The goal here across all of our grades K through 8, is that we're implementing HMH into reading K to 5 and into literature in grades 6 to 8, which your kids here at 185 will be experiencing. Through this idea of making sure that we're engaging our kids in small group learning experiences as necessary, which is something that we're going to be focused on at the district level in terms of professional learning support. And each of these 2 reading goals, we're expecting a minimum growth of 5% by the end of the school year. I wish the embargo was lifted, because then I would share with you what our current state is from the New York State assessments. As soon as that embargo is lifted, I will be sharing widely with the community so you know where we currently are in terms of performance, so that you can have an understanding as to what that means for us by the end of this school year. All students have all students graduate college and career ready. This particular goal is really around Regents access. We want to make sure that our kids from 6th grade on have a clear pathway to take the Regents exam. And not just to take the Regents exam, but they have success. What we have seen is that our numbers of children that are taking the Regents have increased significantly over the past several years, but our performance has not necessarily matched the increase of children that's taking it, which means that we need to focus more on how are we ensuring that kids from 6th grade all the way through grade 8 are given the resources necessary to be successful. And for us, while we met our goal of the number of kids that we wanted to meet the expectations of the Regents, we still have a significant number of kids that did not test in that 80 to 100 range, which is what our goal is for our students in District 25. And then lastly, it's around communication with all of our community members. School survey results are often very consistent. Families typically say that our schools are doing a good job in general. 97% of families typically say that give favorable responses, that the building leader is responsive, that they have access to the things that they need as parents. It's typically the responses that we receive, with the exception to the idea of parent involvement. Now, parent involvement, overall, we are at around 90%, which you would say, you know, that still sounds pretty good. The goal is to continue to work towards improving that, because the more connected we are as community members, and the more that our kids see us connected with our schools, the more likelihood they are going to be able to connect with their work in different ways. So we want to engage in that outreach, not just through workshops. I think parents, you've gone through plenty of workshops, but we really want to create these interactive opportunities for each of you to engage with your kids, like these types of book events that we're going to be doing this school year. So as those notices come out, you're going to be receiving more from the district, not just from our schools. We're going to be offering opportunities from the district lens as well, and we encourage you guys to participate throughout the school year. Now, lastly, this brings us to the part of the conversation where I'm hoping that you guys just take a moment of pause, just to reflect on some of the things that you believe we do well in District 25, some of the things that we need to strengthen, and then advice from me inside of this space in this role. We do have cards that Ms. Martin has, so if you are someone who is not necessarily as willing to shout out in an auditorium full of people, there are cards if you wish to fill them out, just so that we have some of your questions or comments. We would love to see them that way. If you're willing to share out, we'll give you that microphone so that you have an opportunity to share with the community. We also have a space for an email at event@d25.nyc, where you can email us your responses. And there is a Google form there, which is www.d25.nyc/feedback, to give us feedback via a Google form also. And this, one thing I can tell you for sure is that this information is something that I do take very seriously. I don't believe in asking people for feedback if I'm not going to share some kind of an action step as a result. So I do encourage you guys to please connect with me on these questions. And we will start with the first one. And this includes our students. For our students, maybe not what we need to strengthen. Maybe we're thinking about it, what we can do a little bit more of, or maybe even a little bit less of in your experience as a learner. So think about it from that lens too, if you are a child in this school, because we often hear lots of things from our middle schoolers, and I'd love for you guys to do that right now too. So for any of our family members and students that are here, what are we doing well? Any comments that any of you are willing to have, just take that moment of pause. What are we doing really well in District 25? Yeah, and Jenny is here with the mic, yes.
She wants to congratulate us, especially 185. Her daughter is in love with her school. The school has motivated her to be a better student and a better person.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. That's amazing. Big shout out to 185 for that sentiment. Love it.
Hello. Hello?
Okay, hi. I think so far, you know, between last year and this year, I think coming out of COVID, I think the schools are doing really well about trying to get parents more back in schools and to events. I know our school is holding a lot of in-person events now. We're waiting for parent-teacher conferences to be back, because that was a really big event. But I think we're getting there, and I think that's a good, important stride for us. I do.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And you know, the more that we can get you guys into our buildings to support any of the work that's in our schools, certainly the better. So thank you for that feedback. Anyone else? Comments? Things that you feel like we're doing really well?
Hi. and as a fellow DC 25 teacher, not at this school, is that there is more parental involvement. They're involving the parents more in making the decisions about their students, and I think that's really crucial because it's also allowing the parents to see a different lens. So I think that's really great, and as a teacher it's great, as a parent it's great, so I hope it continues.
Love that. Thank you so much. Thank you. Other comments?
One thing, without the microphone, from across the street with Mr. Zersky and his team, and here when Ms. Mashar was here, my other granddaughter Saha graduated, it's absolutely safety. Safety for who? For parents, grandparents who want to talk to the principal, want to talk to a teacher, who want to know that the security guards are really in charge, like nothing bad going to happen in the playground, nothing bad, nobody coming in the school, and all of the after-school events that we had across the street in PS21Q, and I hope we'll have more here. COVID put a stop to a lot of things, thanks God that's hopefully fading away. But what are we doing well is that it seems to me it's the focus on love. Love for learning, love for the kids, and love for the bigger society that God knows has opportunities but also dangers. So making sure that when the kids have to leave, that they are prepared to go on learning and go on respecting and go on trying to be the best they can be. I think that's something that District 25, from Mr. Zersky across the street to Dr. Leone here, yourself, is doing well. So thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm so happy that we actually have a recording of that so that I can just keep replaying what it is you just said, because that's what we do strive for, and we'll continue to work towards. So thank you very much for that. Any other comments around strengths that you believe that we have as a district? Yeah. No, Mike? Okay. I love that. Thank you so much. And, you know, the kids and parents don't want to come in a building where you feel it's ice cold. You know, and we set the tone for that. You know, and if, you know, if we're not mindful consistently of how we respond, how we connect, then it can create an image that we don't necessarily want for our kids, and we certainly don't want for you as families. So I appreciate that that's the way that you feel. Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I think I might have done that for my daughter going to high school. I won't admit that out loud, but now that I'm on recording, everyone knows that. But yes, you know, everyone should be able to have that feeling of connection with their schools. Love that. Thank you so much for that. Any other comments? Yeah. You're good without it? It's fine.
Hi. I just wanted to say what I really am grateful for, one of the things I'm really grateful for, is promoting reading and giving out free books, because I try to instill that in my kids, and I'm glad to see that the school is also doing that.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for that. You know, and I tell you, you know what? It's not an easy thing. You know, I say this as a parent myself. You know, oftentimes it's, you know, so, you know, what are we doing? Sometimes we don't have all the right answers as parents. I like to think that I always do. But if I did, I wouldn't run into those spaces where I have to ask why isn't such and such done. You know, so we do go through these experiences, which Sometimes we feel like we should have the answer, and I'm now in education for 26 years. I'm not sure I would hire myself to work with my own kids, because there is a different level of that as parents, that we want to make sure that we're bringing them on the right path, and that they get to make those choices to say, you know what, I want to pick up a book today. And not because mom or dad is saying you have to pick one up, but because it's something that they want to continue to grow as readers. Matthew is someone who tends to, when I say, are you reading? And he's a little bit of a wise guy when it comes up to this, so kids, don't listen to this. So he'll raise up his phone and he'll say, I am reading. I'm reading what's on ESPN and the tracker that's on ESPN. So in one sense, I'm like, you know what? It's actually not a bad response, because you can do a lot of reading on ESPN too, but I want them to be able to expand beyond that space of ESPN also. So the more we can get our kids connected to books, the more that we can connect them into the types of books that they want to read. It doesn't always have to be the type of book that I want you to read. It's about the books that our kids are interested and invested in. As readers, what do they connect with? And it's not always what I say as the reader. It's what they really have interest in. Many kids will talk about the idea of graphic novels. It's okay that they like to read graphic novels. Should it be the only thing? No, not necessarily. But we want to make sure that our kids are reading. The most important part of that is that they're reading books on a routine basis. Okay? Yeah.
Hi, I would like to thank you and Mr. Carter, which is the principal of the school I graduated for. And I would like to thank you too, because without you, I wouldn't be here in this school. And you helped me with a lot of things, so I really want to thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, buddy. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Sorry, I just wanted to mention also, I wanted to give credit to the teachers, because look what time it is and they're here.
Yeah.
So, we really do have amazing teachers in this school. And I know that a lot of times, I'll go and I'll send an email and they're responding me at 11 o'clock. I'm like, what are you, crazy? Like, you should be sleeping. But they really are dedicated, and District 25 is very known for that, so.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah, and, one of the things that was shared during our last meeting from another parent, which I really held on to, was this context around our teachers and how much they put into their jobs every single day. And one of my pledges after that meeting to that particular parent was that I have to make sure that I also open up space to say the words, thank you, to say the words, you're doing a great job. Because in this field of education, you don't often hear it enough. I don't know that there's ever enough that you can do to say thank you, because the work that we do every single day as building leaders, and we have a number of our building leaders here also, and our teachers are so dedicated to making sure that our kids are successful, that it has to be said more frequently. So that's a pledge that I'm going to make and try to do these types of meetings as the year is going on, to say those just couple of words that, hopefully will be able to make someone feel really good about the work that they do every day. So thank you for that. Yeah.
Just dovetailing on thank you, as a retired teacher, and you're never really retired, I think. So two people who I didn't mention. A lot of people across the street from the school leadership team, I was happy to be a part of that for a while. But Jenny Cheng is over here, and Miss Lee is somewhere. The parent coordinators, they answer the phone.
Okay, Mr. Leung, we're going to have to do this more often, I think. This is something else. We're going to have to do this more often. Thank you for that. So just to get to the next phase, and this one I really do encourage you, as quick as you were to respond around the strengths, this one is just as important, around the things that we can do better. Because every single day that we come to our buildings, or if I'm going to a school or to an office, it's with the idea of how do we improve what we do for our kids. And that's the mindset that I have. And there's nothing too small or too big that we can share. Nor does it mean that tomorrow, all of a sudden, that recommendation will happen. But it creates an opportunity for us to think about things differently, to start putting plans in place, to make adjustments as necessary. So I encourage you, just take a moment of pause. What are some things that we can also think about in terms of improvement for ourselves as a district community that you believe would be important for us to consider? And this includes our kids. Students, feel free. All good? Well, someone's got to get it going. Get it going.
I'll start it up. It's not horrible. It's not horrible. I think, I'm from across the street. I have a son here in 185. He just started. I think we all change a little bit, and every year we try to implement new ways of communicating to parents. I know across the street we're going to be trying to introduce like Parent Square, and we're using Remind, and there's always Class Dojo, and I know maybe 25 is starting to try to do one central thing, because as a parent it was getting a little confusing as to, should I use Dojo or should I use Remind, or is there Parent Square? Should I send out? I'm a PTA president across the street, so which way is the best way to communicate? And I don't want to bombard parents, so it's just, I want to make sure I get to them and don't like miss people. And sometimes I don't know what the best way is, so.
Yeah, I think that streamlining communication is always important, and this day and age, there's so many different outlets to get that information, whether it's through going to a website, you got an email, you got a Remind, and some of them are becoming the new version of a child's school bag, where where did I even find that that email or that Remind, or did that come? Did I see that? So a lot of that does happen, but part of me, in terms of just even recommendations for schools, is that maybe we don't have this huge volume of them, so you're not looking in so many different places to actually get the information that you need, because it can become a little bit confusing in terms of where am I actually receiving this info today. If it goes out to every one of them all at the same time, I guess you're in luck, because you're going to land on one of them at some point. But I hear you that if there are 5 or 6 different ways, maybe it's becoming a little bit overwhelming, and we can connect with our schools individually on what that best way is, and which also presents kind of the problem with it, is that each parent has their own perspective on what's the best way for you to communicate with me. Some will say, I love Remind so much better than Dojo. Others will say, I like Dojo way better than Parent Square, and so on. So that it has got to be a school-based conversation around what's going to be best. So that's something that I can bring back to our building leaders to think more clearly about. So thank you for that. Yeah. Honestly, that is the greatest thing ever. So we can connect with our local electeds around auditorium upgrades and perhaps extra padding on those seats, so that if we have to sit for more than a few minutes, the rear end doesn't hurt us too much. That is a great one. Well, thank you for that. Yeah.
One thing, because we're all looking, kids grow up and they become, if they choose to, or if they are citizens, can vote. What areas do we need to strengthen? Maybe across the street at Edward Hub, we used to have be a buddy, not a bully. And our city council representative used to come every year. Also, Mike Mulgrew used to come a few times. So how about involving government officials from city, state, federal? Congresswoman Payne is very approachable, right off of Northern Boulevard, to get some sort of interaction going. It increases kids' awareness that, guess what, the president, everybody works for them, the mayor, everybody.
Yeah.
So to get more involved in maybe some projects.
So I love that. And one of the things across our schools, this whole idea around civics, is an expectation across all of our buildings in district. And just to give you an example of how much power you have as students. So at one of our schools, there was a need for a stop sign because of concern for safety of kids. The children from that school connected with our local elected officials, and now they have a stop sign in front of their building. So that type of work is something that we encourage all of our schools to engage in, to really find areas of need in our school. And when I say areas of need, I'm not talking about, you know what, we can use additional physical education equipment, which is important, and yes, we need it. But talking about those civics types of experience that you were just referring to really, really enriches the learning experiences for our kids. It's just different. When I know that I'm learning because I'm going to wind up convincing a local elected official to help me get a stop sign is different from me learning the next lesson in a civics book. So I really love that. It's something we're going to continue to push across our schools to really make that an authentic experience for kids. So I love that. Yeah. Any other areas that you think we should be focused on or thinking about differently? Yeah.
Good evening. Sorry, I have a little bit of a cold. So I'll just start with, I've been in schools across New York City for over 20 years. And so I will say we're extremely lucky and blessed to be a part of a district that truly, involves us, listens to our concerns, and where you see parents show up constantly. You don't see that in many other schools across New York. We have 3 daughters in the public school system. 2 are still in PS 79, and I will say that the leadership is key. What leadership has done at that school, a huge school, has made it feel like a true family, a true small niche, where you see it, trickle down to amazing teachers, amazing education for our kids, and just, that now gave them a strong base as they come into middle school. Coming into middle schools was a little nerve-wracking because it's a big change, but I will say that what I felt personally at 185 is that support. Again, huge school, but that same mentality of a small niche. I think an area that we need to look at, as you talk about college and career readiness, is what do the high schools look like as they, feed out of middle school and into the high schools? How strong are those programs? How strong is leadership at those schools in terms of, supporting our kids as they move forward, through their high school years, into their college years?
Yeah, I love that. We do have Mr. Carter, who's actually in the background there, so I'm sure he's really excited to hear your sentiment. But yeah, I think that is a really great suggestion in terms of how we organizing so that our middle schoolers get to see what high school is actually going to be really all about. So it does give me some food for thought around creating those opportunities. Certainly within our district schools. We have a number of District 25 schools that offer a ton of programs that maybe we're not even really aware of, that our kids would really get excited about. So it's about opening that door. I do have a relationship with Superintendent 2, who is responsible for a number of our District 25 high schools, that we can certainly make that connection with as the year is going on to create opportunities for our kids. So I love that suggestion. Thank you for that. Any other asks, things to think about? So also, if you have any of those cards for Ms. Martin, we'll be happy to take those too, and we'll get you answers to any of those questions or comments that you've made. So the last part is really for me, selfishly. It's around advice, for me inside of this role as interim acting superintendent. So it's not necessarily around the things that we need to improve, but more for things for me to make sure that I'm consistently mindful of in this role. So if you do have any of those recommendations, I would love to hear from you so that I'm consistently trying to be conscious of what your thinking is as I serve in this role. I'm wondering if any of you are noticing my Bitmojis that are up there, just checking them out as we go through. These are compliments of Mr. Latito and all of his efforts. I find pictures of me all over the place. I'm not sure how they get there, but they seem to. So I know all of you guys have had a long evening. I will wait here until each of you has gone. So if you want to come up to me personally and ask me a question, you're welcome to do so. But I thank you for being here. I thank you for your interest in hearing what District 25 is about and the message that I'm sending. But also for your candid feedback around the things that we do well and the things that we need to improve. Please keep them coming because we do take it seriously. When I meet with our principals on next week, I'll be sure to kind of reiterate some of the things that you've said so that we can keep it in mind as the school year goes on and then into the future. So thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate your time and hope you all have a good night. Oh, there is one more thing. So I intend to create a district podcast. And the podcast, the name of it is going to be Get on the Mic with Dr. Mike. What I encourage from you as parents is to give me some recommendations around a couple of things, and kids too. Topics that you believe would be exciting for you to participate in as a parent. Types of guests that you would like to have present. Now, obviously, I mean, I know some people, I'm really not, that kind of big time to pull down some big names, but I will do my best based on the types of folks that you would like to hear from in the space of a conversation. Types of questions that you would like to hear me ask other people. Because I do want to connect with you guys in as many ways as I possibly can. While you might not be able to be there during the live part of a podcast, you can always go back and listen and say, what are they talking about today? And the same for our kids. And where I want to link our kids in is into the space of helping organize the actual production of the podcast. So it's not just about me, it will be about kids connecting in that way. So I'll be canvassing our students across middle schools to see who would actually have interest in doing that work with me. And then we're going to get it going. Sometime maybe November, December-ish, we need a little bit of time to get all of this stuff settled at the beginning of the school year, and then we're going to try to make that happen, just as a different way to connect with our community. So if you have ideas, please share them, and I'd love to hear it. All right. Other than that, have a terrific night, everyone. Thanks so much for being here.
I can't believe he keeps talking about it. I haven't told him for the atmosphere, otherwise.
We just keep telling more people about it. Thank you guys. Will you be a guest on the podcast?
Esther, Jenny, Wayne, thank you. What's up, buddy? Hi, guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, good. Adjusting to the curriculum, trying to get used to it. It's a lot to unpack, so. Oh, yeah.
Have that mindset too. We're always like, we sit together, we'll try to like, why don't we try this? Like, that's just how we are too, but it is a lot. We're starting to
Oh, yeah.
At the end of the day, not saying it's that we don't